Welcome, everybody, to your weekly Frax Check, your Frax Vibe Check. I'm your host, Capital K, and I'm joined by my co host, DeFi Dave, and our producer extraordinaire, Sam. And here, guys, this is Frax Check number 38, I believe. And thank you so much for rocking with us since day one. And if you want to know more about Frax and what's happening in the world on chain, then definitely smash that subscribe button, hit that like button, and give us some comment and feedback at Flywheel DeFi on Twitter and Telegram. Boys, this week, I call this week flat but sad. Flat but sad.
It sounds like a really bad soda.
Oh, it tastes like it. So yeah,
Flat
that's a
soda.
very apt. It's flat but sad.
Yeah,
So
Coca-Cola that's been out too long.
you know, so with that, let's move on to our very first slide, the flagship product, the Frax stablecoin. And here we are at a billion supply, which was flat from last week, and also quite sad. Um, we definitely want this number to be up higher and higher. The only reason effectively for the us to keep on tracking these metrics is for this number to go up. And as you can see, for the remaining of the year, it's been down. So, but anyways, let's check how the peg is working. This is a stable coin after all. So we see here that we got as high as $1.02, as low as 0.997 for the week so far for the first week of May. Then when we went into the markets, we did a swap of 100 million frax into USDC and received an exchange rate from Curve of 0.9987, which was the same as last week. Flat, but sad. On the next slide, we'll see our collateralization percent, which is 94.8. Okay, this is an all-time high indeed, and it is also flat when compared to last week. And then next we have our decent percent, which is our decentralization percent. We see here we're kind of like, we've been languishing between the mid 23, 24, all the way down to as low as the 20s. And we're kind of going back down. You see the trend is moving down a
Damn,
little
that's
bit.
really flat. It's
The,
literally zero.
the
Both of them.
decentralization percent is 20.8%. And that is, again, flat from last week. Flat but sad, boys. That is the theme, and I will keep on delivering it to you. All right, and then now we have our Frax
Wait,
VP, which is at
this is like
500.
Florida flat. You know how like Florida is like
Yeah.
it's flatter than a pancake. We're in like the Frax Flywheel Florida era.
Yeah, it's flat. So I think either we're at peak performance, and this is what peak performance looks like, or I don't know. I definitely don't want this to be peak performance, but let me just continue here really quick. With the TVL, we're at 509 million in Frax and USDC. On the volume front, we are at, and shout out Stable Camel, we are at 6.9 million in monthly volume. And this, guys, is actually 4 times lower. I'm sorry, it's actually half lower than the last month. I believe if we were to track this, so the volume is definitely getting crushed across the board here. All right, on the next slide, we'll see the three pool percent of three pool, and we are at an all-time high of 128%. So yes, indeedly, this is not flat. This is a new ATH of 128%, and so much so that my graph had actually shift axes to show the 150% bar.
Nice.
You know, that was,
Hey,
Three
that
pool
was
keeps
nice.
going down.
Yeah. But
you think
that
it's
was-
because of USDC and DAI?
No. I just think the pool is mostly Wintermute now. And I don't think if you're an institutional player that you'd want to put your money there because you're commingling with the North Koreans. Yeah.
Allegedly.
wow.
No, it's not allegedly. I mean, the Wintermute hacker.
Oh, the Wintermute hacker.
They're the largest. The Wintermute hacker is the largest depositor into three pool.
Really?
Yeah, $160 million out of the 400 and something. So.
Oh.
Okay. Well, on the next slide, we'll see those numbers play out exactly. You see here that the Frax base pool is at 509. The 3 pool is at 412. Frax 3 CRV is at 291. And then upcoming baby brother, Frax PP, is at
Frax PP.
115 million. And I just want to take a moment and pause, guys. Like, if you add up all of the Frax related pools in Curve, it's almost 2x that of 3 pool, or rather, it's more than 2x that of 3 pool. And I just think that's awesome that a protocol that is non-native to to Curve is now able to come in and provide such deep liquidity on a completely quote unquote foreign protocol. But yeah, anyways, that I thought that was cool when I saw that when I was putting this together. So that things are great in terms of Frax BP relative to Curve 3 pool. But then now we're going to switch gears a little bit and talk about some IQ staking. And here, guys, IQs for some fast facts is that when you lock, you have a choice of locking 1 week to 4 years, and the voting power for X's for the 4-year lock. Though there is a similar to how VCRV decays, there is also a decay in IQ staking power. So the decay is linearly. So those are the IQ fast facts. And now on the next slide, you'll see the reason why you want to know this is that there is a 127% IQ staking APR. Though this is down 70 bips from last week, this is still frankly quite high. And the APR here is 127% with a total of 117 holders. So we definitely want to see this number go up because you can only stake on Ethereum, and there are currently 1,735 holders on Ethereum. So all the 90% that is not staking on Ethereum, where you at?
Where
We
you
need
at?
you.
We need
Come
you.
earn this. Come earn
Come
this.
earn
And if
this.
you don't know where it is, go to the braindow.org dashboard, and there's a button that called stake on there. Hit that stake button so that you can lock it up and start earning some of this sweet APR. And then why are we even staking in the first place? Well, there's this thing called IQ Treasury that has a whopping 15 milli in it. Granted, that is down 3.8% this week relative to last, but nonetheless, it is still 15 milli, and it has the pristine collateral of SFRXETH in there alongside Frax and Convex as well. And obviously, it has some of its own PLL protocol own liquidity of Frax IQ pair. So definitely go and stake your IQ again on the IQ braindow.org dashboard in the stake portion. And if you want to learn more about BrainDAO, you definitely could go to iq.wiki/wiki/IQ. And you can learn about IQ on the IQ wiki. How meta inception is that? But yes,
Yes, you
that
can.
is where you can learn. And guys, back to our favorite child at the moment, and that is on the next slide, Sam. You'll see FrxETH,
Wow, we
the
up.
favorite
We up.
child.
Yeah, I don't understand how this is sad. This is great. We're up
Yeah,
almost
yeah.
We're
8%.
bubbling.
Yeah,
Wow. Like
that's what I'm
since
saying. I'm saying this is the favorite child. This is like I should just skip everything instead of calling FrxCheck, just be FrxETH check, and we'll be like happier every day. But yes, here we have 181,965 FrxETH, and that is an increase of 7.6% from last week. That is hot numbers. And let's take a look where these ETH are hanging out, or rather FrxETH. So we see that 60% of them, 62%, sorry, that should be at 62, is chilling in SFRXETH, and the remaining is in the Curve LP at 27%. And lastly, there is 11% floating in the Ether. And again, I'm going to plug Sam's article about where the yield is for FrxETH. You can go there and check it out, and you'll see where all the FrxETH yield is and why people are willingly giving up that sweet SFRXETH yield. tons of alpha in that article again at flywheeloutput.com. Now, FraxETH is still what, guys? Dave, what is FraxETH still?
FrxETH is still going up.
Still going up, but is also still a stable coin. So we
Still
got
a
to check the
stable
peg.
coin.
So now
So-
the peg here, I wanted to tee you up because this peg is
wow, it's
frankly,
strong.
as I'm saying, this is the favorite child, but I don't want to pick favorites, but I feel like we have a favorite.
What if you
But
just
is
lead in
that
with a
zero?
FrxETH?
Is that 0. Frax ETH to ETH exchange rate is 0.9999. And then you take this into the market and you do a swap on Curve in the FraxETH pool, and you receive for 3,500 FraxETH in exchange of 0.9992.
I think it's the best we've seen.
Yeah, it's
It is.
strong.
It's been holding. It's been holding this exact number, so I'm loving it, and that's a pretty big size to swap. And currently the TVL is about 157 million for the Curve swap pool for FraxETH. So definitely loving it there. Now let's take a look at how we are doing on the landscape. So currently in the market share, we have 2.11%, which means we increased by 5.5% from last week. So we're clawing our way to the top here, and it's more it's most recognizable. You see here where Lido has 74% of the market share, but they have increased by 7.5% over the last 30 days, whereas we did that over the last 7 days. Now, granted, Lido is much larger than FraxETH, frankly almost 35x larger, but we are definitely trying our best to catch up because in our 30-day change we're growing at about 40%. The closest competitor to this and another benefactor from the Chapella is obviously Rocket Pool, as you guys can see here. Rocket Pool is also having a really hot month, up 30% in terms of staked ETH. So Rocket Pool is also doing this thing and climbing, whereas Coinbase ETH has just been bleeding its shares. Obviously, this is not all of the LSD market share. You could look at this dashboard on DeFi Llama. So go check that out if you're really curious to see who else is bleeding. But in the next slide, you'll see here that our favorite child has, some problems. That is specifically in the yield department.
What? This is
We
the first time
are
I've seen
in the
this.
we are in the middle of the pack here. And as to DeFi Dave's surprise, we have Anchor on the top at 7.4% APY, stake-wise at 6.9, and we are third with
They
6.4.
must be really getting that MEV.
Yeah, we are straddling the middle here. And
I
what's
mean,
even more
yeah,
surprising,
go ahead.
though, Dave, is look at Lido and Rocket Pool closing in on us very tightly from the back.
They might
So-
just distribute their APRs a little bit faster than us, right? Because we have that a week long period before the
7 days.
APRs get reset, and I know that looking at the expected APR for next week,
It's supposed to be like 10%.
it's going to be like 10%. Oh yeah, 10.21%. So I think it's just the time hasn't kicked over, right? And the cycles start on Thursday at midnight. So if you look at like Lido and Stakewise and everybody have already gotten their boosted yields up to like 6.8%, 6.3%, respectively. And in a couple of days, Frax will be on the top with 10%, just because there's a little bit of delay in that.
Thank you for the clarification, boys. Well, aside from the yield comparison, we should move on to the next product in the suite, Sam's favorite, the FPI.
Well, it's no longer my favorite if it's not going to do anything. If it's the same thing every week, it's the same thing as no change, no increase, no equity.
Whoa,
Wait, we got
whoa,
point
whoa,
two.
whoa.
We got point two.
Yeah, I was gonna say, let me
Okay.
come in and
Not
deliver
so
some
flat.
good news, Mr. 20 bips. I'm here to serve you some 20 bips in the supply increase. It went up from 82.3 to 82.5. in the supply. That's a 200K increase in the FPI supply, not the cap, the supply. Meaning people are coming in and minting this. The annual inflation index is still at 5%, and FPI is still above its required peg by 5 bips. Now, on the treasury value side, we actually also increased by a solid 200K here to 88.9 million in the treasury TVL, 46% of which is comprised of the convex FPI Frax pair. Now, let's talk about the equity portion. It's a bit alarming because its equity portion got as high as, I believe, 5.2 or something of that nature, and then it dropped down to 4.3. So this equity is definitely being used, be eaten up somewhere in the system. But anyways, let's move on to our next product, which is the
Wait. Did you guys
FRAXLEND.
see the article today in Forbes?
Which one?
No.
For like FPI was like front and center. Did you guys see it?
Oh,
Hold on, let me see if I can
no.
pull it up. Frax.
Wow.
Yeah,
Look, man,
yeah,
we made it.
yeah.
Here,
Let's
just
see news.
you can share your screen, but
Let me see. Can I share
wait,
screen?
we'll come back to it. So
Okay, yeah. It
Yeah,
says, "Beware
at
of
the end.
flat coins, crypto's
Beware,
inflation busting fad" by Forbes, and
beware of flat coins.
but
Okay.
it credits Sam and Balaji of coming up with the term flat coins, so that's pretty cool. But anyways, I digress. Continue.
Okay. Yes. Let's finish up with the FraxLand here. We are at 209 million in TVL, and of which 54.9% is borrowed. And the way I like to look at utilization rate is that I take the borrowed amount divided by the total supplied amount. And we see here we have a 62%. So meaning for every dollar supplied to FraxLand, 62 cents is being offered or borrowed away. And as you can see on the borrowed value, we pretty much scaled back up to where we were previously in terms of how much we want to borrow. But on the collateral side is definitely like we're kind of teetering or stopped out at this range here, which is I would say
Flat.
about flat, but also 2/3 of the peak of before the USDC fiasco. So people are definitely still kind of skittish of parking assets in, but also the market did drop quite drastically.
still
So
dropping.
that's also that too. And then on the pairs that I want to highlight again is that anybody out there who's still in this SFRXETH Frax pair, definitely move it out because you're paying up the yin yang for
Someone paid
this.
it back though. I mean, that's at like
Yeah,
50,
it's
80.
tiny. Yeah, it's tiny, but let's just come in and clean it out nicely. Yeah, since there are no terms to this thing can theoretically last forever. But yeah, let's go in here and let's clean this up so I can have a nicer table to show every week. But I want to highlight here is that take a look at CRV Frax. We're seeing a slight come down after the CRV USD, right? Now it used to be around the 9%. Now we're looking at the 6.7%. So obviously not a lot has come down, but definitely some.
Lining
And
up with the launch of CRV USD.
yeah. So FXS is still kind of the number one thing that's being borrowed for. Actually, it's getting higher right now. It's been much lower previously. So people are I think a sub 7 number, people get excited. But what I want to highlight here and mainly is the SFRXETH Frax pair. Just look at that borrowing rate. And it's just, you're going to get paid a 4% in native ETH for borrowing this. So I don't see any other lending market that allows for this or enable this.
Get paid.
Get paid 4%
Get
to
paid.
borrow. So you could effectively, I'm not gonna get into it, but yes, that is the idea. And obviously on the bottom you see a couple new pairs as MKR and then Ape and Uni on the table as well too. So that is for FraxLend. And up next for the least known DEX in the DeFi space, we have FraxSwap. TVL dropped to 63 million, which represents a 4.5% decrease from last week. But however, on the volume side, we processed 9.8 million in TVL, which is 15.5% of the TVL so far. And like I said, this is one of the most efficient dexes in terms of turnover that we've seen. But this is still half of what we were doing last month. Okay, like if I were to annualize this and then bring it down to a monthly number, we're still half of what we were doing last month. Yeah, last month, and you'll see why. Because on the next slide,
Can I just?
Uh-huh.
I think the DeFi llama thing is wrong.
Yeah, I think there was complaints about
Okay.
DeFi llama.
Okay,
Right?
so
Yeah, can we? Because
so
Wait,
let
wait,
me jump in. Let me jump in. There's DeFi Llama doesn't report the Frax FPI in the Frax swap. That's why there's this massive chunk missing.
so what? But isn't that in? Why did they not do that?
I don't know. That is a great question.
Oh, so
don't know.
the FPI controller is just like all the Frax that's in the that's like the how you swap in and out of FPI is through the controller. That makes sense. So it's not actually in an AMM pair, but you can swap in. It is an AMM pair. Okay, so if you minus the 88 million from that, then you get the correct number. Okay, that makes sense.
Then you get the 63. Yeah, totally.
Okay.
Yeah. Which I actually addressed this the very first time we started covering Frax swap. So definitely it's on there. Check the receipts. But on the next slide, you'll see why that we are down 50%. Because normally in the top pair right here, I should have put a red box, but Frax swap FXS Frax here is usually printing about 15 million or facilitating about 15 million in TVL or 15 million in trading volume every 7 days. We're only facilitated 8.6 million these last 7 days. So the just the pure volume has been pretty much cut in half, or at least 40%. And you see that across the board with pairs such as FXS FRAXETH, FRAXETH with, and obviously SynFrax. And oh, hey, looky here. You could also earn yield on your IQ by providing LP in the IQ Frax pair. And this one actually does get a gauge from none other than FXS. So hop on in there. If you're not staking your IQ, definitely hop here to get some of this good stuff. All right. Now, on the next slide, we will see our profitability. And as always, we got to check the A to the M to the O. Here we are pretty much flat. Again, it's up 10 bips to 817.2 million, of which is comprised of the Curve AMO, which is 525 million, Liquidity AMO, which is 73.6 million, up 900K from last week, and the Lending AMO, 85 million, unchanged, and the Investor AMO, 132.4 million, down 600K from last week. Ergo, we are pretty much flat. On the revenue front, we're sad because we had to pay a pretty fat bribe bill, but that's okay.
It's the beginning of the month.
It's the beginning of the month. We know this. We know this.
We know
you should
this.
Be used to this.
Yes.
And then, so let me just walk through the numbers for the folks at home. For May so far, we've generated revenue of 260K with expenses of 630K. And that gives us a net loss for May so far of 370K. All right. But do not fret. There's more.
There's more.
On AMO, on the next slide, on the AMO FRAXLEND, we have an increase of 2 million in total FRAXLEND. Remember, there are 65 million minted, 56.5 million lent into the Frax pools, and about 155 million cap that we were allocated for. Now, we're with this extra 2 million, we put it to work, and we're able to generate for the first week of May, practically about 15.1K. Okay, in revenue. This is pure revenue. There's kind of no cost to this. Remember what Positive Ben said from is that there's always a cost of capital. Well, this is actually kind of a negative cost of capital. It's right. Yeah. It's kind of amazing when you kind of think about that. But anyways, enough of patting ourselves on the back. Let's take a look at if there are this is the revenue we don't want, and this is the slide where we talk about liquidations. And so far for May, everybody out there is staying safe. There is no liquidation for May. The last one was 18 days ago, and the profit from that was $121. So good job, everybody.
I hate to burst your bubble. There's been like a few in the past 2 hours.
I can imagine.
Three in the past 2 hours.
Pain.
With the largest one being 24 stake FrxETH. $50,000, but we made $3,000.
Ah, a fallen soldier. Let's have a moment of silence.
Yeah.
Let's save this moment of silence for next week when it's actually in the charts. You didn't make the cut for FraxCheck, so technically reality didn't happen yet.
Yeah.
So
It didn't hit the block. It hasn't been confirmed.
You know, it didn't hit the flywheel block yet. So definitely next. Let's take a look here. We have our FPI monthly revenue, which is chugging along beautifully at plus 44K. Okay. And just a reminder, the income comes from the yield that is generated from the treasury, plus the expenses that come from the amount it needs to keep the peg, the non-flat peg to be exact. So that's 44K for the month of May.
Flat
And
coin.
now on the next slide, I did a kind of revenue summary. I should call this profit summary rather. But here is where we have basically all of the revenue streams, or maybe not all, but most. And the convex AMO is obviously printing, rather negative printing of 370K.
More like burning.
Burning 370K. But again, start of the month, we know this. FRAXLEND, we're at 15.1K. And for FRAXLEND liquidation, currently, as of the making of the slides, was 0, but we'll update that. FRAXETH is at 157,000. How I received that number is I took the 189K of FRAXETH that we saw in the beginning. Then I multiply that by, I just assume an average of 7% in terms of ETH staking yield. Then I multiply that by 8% to get Frax's share of that portion. Then I divided that baby by 12 to give us 157,000. And this number is going to keep on changing as more FRxETH kind of comes in. So keep seeing that fluctuate for the month of May. Now, and then, like we just mentioned, FPI at 44K. So in total, we have a loss of 153K for basically the first week of May. That's it, boys. And that is a wrap for FraxCheck number 38. We are here and we are flat. And we're not too sad after I shared it with you guys.
Well, let's see how the next week goes. There's a lot. I'm looking at FraxFacts right now, and there's a lot of people who are getting close to their liquidation point. So some bigger people as well too, like this FraxGeome, who's sitting at 69% LTV out of 75. There's the largest borrower for Frax share Frax is sitting at 70. So he's got a liquidation price of 6.28. So a lot of people are playing with fire. You know, here's a convex borrower that is sitting at 71%.
If you're watching this and like this is still alive and we're still in this situation, go top off your collateral right now. Everyone go check your positions right now. Top off, play safe. We don't want to see you liquidated. Being liquidated sucks. Go save yourselves. Go pay down your debt.
Yeah.
Please.
Well, maybe the markets will have a bounce back over the next week. Things have been really like I think that the people get just a little weirded out when things are flat, right? Like we really haven't had any growth. We haven't had any non-growth yet. And
non-growth.
I just need those BAMs to come out so people can go lever up on their meme coins.
We just need something to come out. I mean, the governance stuff Sam posted today. We'll talk about that in This Week in Frax. And yeah, but yeah, it's flat.
We got an exciting interview tomorrow.
Exactly.
Yeah, and we have an exciting interview tomorrow. But yes, everything is flat, except for the price. But that's why we're sad. But yeah, so that's what I have for you guys this week.
What about next week? Where can people find us?
Next week, obviously, people can find us at flywheeloutput.com. That's definitely a place they need to go to. And obviously, they can just smash that subscribe button right here on YouTube and also hit that like button and make sure you comment and join the conversation at Flywheel DeFi. Yes, don't make Wasi sad. He's already sad. He's already taken so much abuse. Give him a like. Give him a like. Right? And now you can find me at 0x_K.
Oh, you can find me at DeFi Dave 22.
Amateurs_insight.
And we'll check in with you next week.